All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast. The podcast where we talk about the hardest stuff you go through as an entrepreneur, man, and all the suck and getting through it all, right? So today we have Derek Stupski. Joshua and I had the pleasure of working with Derek for a few months on a previous company where we ran the sales team. And I'll let Derek get into his history and a little bit about him. So Derek, for folks out there that don't know you, who's Derek?
Yeah, I ask myself that every day. So I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been looking forward to this. I booked a couple weeks ago and always had this bookmark on my calendar. So really appreciate the invite.
We're happy to have you, man.
Yeah. So I guess at heart, entrepreneur. I just love the idea of business. I love mostly on the acquisition side. So I wouldn't say I'm the best marketer in the world, but I do enjoy marketing. Where I really kind of sunk my teeth into is the sales world. And so right now running a business that helps other companies with their sales department management and rep training. So that has been really fulfilling. We transitioned, like when we first met, it was more of like on a consulting basis of just like coming in and chit chatting and kind of giving you systems and ideas and all that to now it's evolved to me actually just taking over and running departments on like a fractional basis. So that has been that's been really fun and a good transition and helped a lot of teams and made some decent money in the process.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Way to go, man.
And so that's kind of who Derek is as an entrepreneur. Who's Derek as a man, father, husband, and all that other good stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always say the most important job in the world to me is being a dad. And I have two girls. So one just turned 7 and the other one is 5. So they're about 18 months apart. They drive me nuts, but I love them to pieces. And it is the most rewarding thing is seeing your children grow and evolve. And so my wife and I, we put a lot of pride into parenting and making sure that we're doing our job in terms of raising good humans. And we see it across the board. Unfortunately, my wife is a teacher and, she gets surrounded by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. And there are some that are more struggles than others. So we really try to take a pride in terms of what we do and making sure that our kids are going to become very respectful, young people, young adults, and hopefully successful adults as time goes on.
Love it. Yeah, as you
That's
know,
awesome.
I got 2 daughters. They just turned 5 a couple weeks ago. I saw your video of your daughter. You were pitching her some balls and she was cranking them, man. And I was like, wait, my daughters are 5. Why aren't they doing that? But they're just learning how to ride bikes and stuff. They just turned 5, so I was like, all right, let me give them some time.
Yeah, so she's 5.5 to her credit.
Yeah.
And she has some good genetics, not to like boast or anything like that, but I played Division I baseball. My wife played Division I softball. That's how we met. So like to see our kids come up and be able to catch and throw and hit at an early age, just kind of like, I guess the environment that they grew up in and they're kind of predisposed to it.
Sure.
Just by what we did for most of our lives.
Love it.
I'm sure that'll trickle into other aspects of their life too, like business.
Yeah.
We talked to
we'll see.
a few other guests too.
I always say so it's funny you say that because I say my 5-year-old is going to be my salesperson. She is constantly closing. My wife and I are trying to close. And like, if we say no, she's overcoming as to why we're saying no and coming up with different solutions. And it's absolutely hysterical. And my oldest is almost sort of on the opposite end where I always say she's going to be my attorney because if there are rules, she's going to abide by those rules. And if someone else doesn't, there's going to be a problem and she's going to make sure that they get in trouble. And like she's constantly explaining why, her sister did this or a friend did that and what the punishment should be. And she's arguing with us and how they should be punished. I'm like, so I have a little attorney at the age of 7 and I have a young saleswoman at the age of 5. So
man,
there's no dull moments. I can
they're
just
going to be a
tell you that.
powerhouse together.
Hopefully we'll see.
Well, I'm really curious, for myself and also for everybody listening. What was, what was your journey like, growing up in and out throughout high school, college, getting into business?
Yeah. Awesome. So I been very blessed in this sense. I come from a very entrepreneurial driven family. And so I go back to like the mid 60s. My grandfather started a small little upholstery shop. That's when people actually like took care of their furniture and wanted to get it reupholstered as opposed to just buying throwaway couches.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started that back in the 60s. My dad was very entrepreneurial in his journey as well, actually took over the family business. It evolved multiple times over. It wasn't a furniture business by the time he took it. But grew that to be worth millions of dollars, in which he exited and sold right before everything shut down in 2020, actually. So it's always been in our blood. I got to see it growing up and get to see like what the stresses are of becoming an entrepreneur, what the benefits are of being an entrepreneur, and everything in between. And so to me, it was, I went and tried to work for some people, whether I was in high school or just out of college or whatever it was, and it just never really resonated with me. I tried to be the good employee. I tried to bring that little entrepreneurial spirit, and I was just being told to kind of suppress that and just be a good cog.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, we don't need that. We don't need you to be creative. You're not the entrepreneur. Just do your job. And so like that sort of thing just drove me up the freaking wall. And so just because of my growing up with my grandfather, growing the business, selling it, my dad taking it over, and then he ended up selling it to his brothers who are now running it. It was really cool to kind of live and see that evolution of the business, yes, but he didn't really realize it at the time. But the man, in terms of who my dad became, in terms of him and the elements of entrepreneurship that he was able to apply to be a husband, to be a father, structure in the house and all of that. And it was just extremely beneficial to the point where now, obviously, I'm running my own business and my sister runs her own business now and is extremely successful. I mean, she just got back flying first class round trip to Barcelona. So like things are going well on her end as well. And so it's really cool. I'm very proud of my family, very, very proud of that journey that we took and why we're here. I just think it's all environmental.
So out of college, what did you get your degree in college?
Yeah, so I got my degree in exercise physiology.
Okay.
And
not quite business.
Not business at all. And so quick story on that. I got accepted to get into school, and I wanted to be a history teacher. So one of my mentors growing up and probably the best baseball coach that I ever played for was a history teacher, social studies teacher at our high school. So he was my varsity baseball coach. And I was just like, you know what? This is awesome. He gets to teach history. I love history. I loved coaching and teaching. And so like after I'm done playing, I'm going to get summers off. I'm going to be a teacher, be able to help kids like enjoy history. And then I get to coach baseball at the high school level. Win-win across the board, like no questions asked. But I also found this like love and like desire to be better in the world of fitness. And that was strictly because I saw what weight training did for my performance on the field. And so I'm going to enroll into school. And next to the School of Education is the School of what they call the Times Sports Sciences. And I was like, what is sports science? So I clicked into it and it was like physical therapy, athletic training, strength and conditioning. And I was like, you can get a degree in strength and conditioning and then go get a job for that. And this is before like things were really blowing up on social media. It wasn't really that well known that you could go and get a bachelor's, master's, doctorate in the world of exercise and then go become a strength coach. And I was like, so I want to become a strength coach and I want to get into baseball, obviously, and take that on. So graduated, and that summer I got hired as a personal trainer. So I'm in New York City, working on the Upper East Side as a personal trainer. And I'm also working my an internship with a minor league baseball team out of New Jersey. So I'm taking the train on the Upper East Side. I'm living in Brooklyn at the time. So I'm taking a train to the Upper East Side, or I'm taking the train to New Jersey, sometimes both in the same day. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is 2012. And so I'm going, this is cool because I get to test the waters with general population and then also test the waters with pro athletes.
Right.
Loved both my experiences, but for some reason, I fell in love with working with the everyday person as opposed to the athlete, the pro athlete. And don't get me wrong, I got to hang out in the clubhouse with Hall of Famers, guys that made it to the big leagues, that are all-stars. Like, I got to spend a lot of time with some really good ball players, and it was like I wouldn't trade it for anything. But for some reason, I gravitated towards that general population. And so fast forward about a year or so, I ended up opening up my own business, and that was kind of that first step of entrepreneurship. So I was working for someone else, I was interning for the team, and then I took that first, I was like, I can do this by myself. And then that's what kind of led me to start my, basically it was a personal training side hustle that we ended up running with.
Cool. And so what happened with that? Where did that lead you?
So let me kind of backtrack it for just a second. 2012, I was working as a personal trainer. I was, mind you, living in New York City. I was salaried at $36,000 a year.
Oof.
$3,000 a month was what I was getting paid. That's it. And
in New York City.
So things were tight. Things were tight. I'm originally from upstate New York. So if you guys heard of Syracuse Orange, typically known for like football, basketball, like that area, central New York, about an hour outside of Syracuse. And so I ended up moving out of New York City to go back upstate. And that's where I was doing some baseball lessons, trying to get this personal training thing going. And I was kind of bouncing back and forth. And I remember the first time, it was probably like 3 months into it, where I made $4,000. And I was like, I just made more by myself than what I did working for somebody else in New York City, in one of the most luxurious like regions of New York City. And I just made more of that by myself here in rinky dink upstate New York. And so at that point, that's when I really started kind of looking at it going, okay, I think I have something here. And then I started looking into marketing, how to sell better, because it was like, I was proud of my fulfillment. I could train people and help them with food and all that. But it was like, how do I get more clients? How do I sell them? How do I raise my prices? And how do I build a business where I'm not the be all end all? I'm not the marketer. I'm not the sales guy and the fulfillment guy. It's like, how can I start to actually scale a business? And so, Kevin, to your question, I think what you're trying to get at is that's where I got connected with Alex Hormozi. And so this is now 2017. So I started the business in 2013. I ran on my own for 2-3 years. One of my buddies who I did a previous mastermind with that was an absolute flop, so I'm not going to drop names. No. He ended up finding Alex before I did. And he texted me and he's like, dude, I just made 40 grand this month. And I was like, you did what? He's like, yeah, 40 grand. And I was like, what are you doing? And he sent me the link with, Alex's early ads for GymLaunch at the time. And I remember being on the phone. So Layla took the first call. Layla Hormozi, his wife, took the first call with me. And then Alex came on and closed me. And I remember it being, I spent $12,000 that I did not have. Just put it on a credit card blindly. Mind you, I'm making $4 or $5 grand a month. So there. Literally a quarter of my year was invested into this program. And so that was the first like massive investment that I made into the business. And it absolutely took off from there.
Awesome.
In what ways?
Learned how to properly market. That was number one. Obviously, Alex is known for, the $100 million offers and all that fun stuff. And he broke the fitness industry with his offer. So if you are relatively close or into the fitness industry, you've probably seen the 6-week challenges. That was Alex's baby back in 2017. 2018. And so that's what we ran. And so we were lucky enough to be first to market in my area to run those. And so this always blows me away. Our first campaign, so I bought in May. We got everything built out because we had to build all the systems and actually like build a business before trying to attract all these new clients, which was crucial for the infrastructure of what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Business still broke, but that's a different story. This is again 2018, so we spent $350 on ads over a 3-week span. So to me, that's a lot at the time because I'm only making $5 or $6 grand a month. I spent $350. We made over $30,000 cash collected in 3 weeks.
It's impressive.
Because we were selling $500 6-week challenges. We signed up 60, I think it was 64 people in 3 weeks at $500 a head. And that's where I was like, oh, this is how my buddy made 40 grand last month was using this. And so when I say the business broke, it was, I went from $10,000 was a banner month for that business at the time. All of a sudden I have $35,000 in cash and 60 new people influxing in a gym that wasn't prepared for it in a 3-week time span. So fulfillment, we were good at fulfilling maybe 6 to 8 people in like a larger group setting, if you will. And now I have 20 in a session. And it's just, it was crazy. It was a great learning experience. We made a lot of money.
That's awesome.
And it really forced us. And you know, like I said, it broke the business, but it forced me to become better in terms of business infrastructure, fulfillment, understanding, scalability. It wasn't perfect out of the gate. Still not perfect now. But understanding it just at a little bit higher of a degree level made a huge difference. And so we pushed pause. We said, okay, we're being absolutely drowned right now. Took a step back, fulfilled with who we sold, and tried to obviously retain them as members and build reoccurring revenue and all that. But infrastructurally speaking, we had to do a big revamp of that before trying that again.
Yeah.
And then once we tried that again, it just got better every single time that we ran through it. So that's what really was scaling it up. And within a year or so after joining GymLaunch, $40,000 a month was a bad month.
Yeah.
So we were sitting 60 to 80 grand each and every month as a small business. We're operating with probably 20-30% margins, and we're rocking at this point. I got a full staff of 6. Like I'm just shooting ads and doing some sales and making sure that the business is moving forward. And so we hit a really good sweet spot within a year, but it was a challenge because of how things were just consistently breaking, because my business wasn't built for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I always say that, like the gift and the curse of, I mean, I come from a sales background before my entrepreneurial, ventures, right? So the gift and the curse is like being really good at sales and or marketing, but not knowing how to run a business. Like my first business, I made $100 grand in like 9 months, but I just shut it down because I was like stressed to the max. I was like, I don't care how much money I'm making. I hate this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you bring up a good point too, is like, I guess tying into what I'm doing now and why I think it's kind of getting some legs, which I'm sure we'll go through that journey here in just a second. But I think a lot of people get into business because they love the fulfillment side. Right. So like basket weavers love teaching people how to weave baskets, but they don't know how to market and they don't know how to sell. So their business never actually takes off. Yeah. And so not that I'm working with basket weavers, for some reason, it was the first example that popped in my head.
Nothing against basket.
But like, think of it like in any industry.
About basket weavers.
But think of it in any industry. Like I'm working on an offer right now with a company, and we're doing really damn well. And their entire focus is helping people build out a corporate structure and get seed money and financial, basically backing from banks and private equity to help people grow their business. But the guy who's running it, who's an absolute genius at what he does and is probably worth millions upon millions of dollars, doesn't want to do marketing or sales. He just wants to continue to fulfill. He just wants to continue to coach. And so like, that's why like sliding in as that manager to take over that fulfillment side, I think is helping quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're like done for you sales agency, sales management.
sales management, I think, is a better way to say it. Do we supply and hire reps and things like that? Yes. Do I train those reps when they get onboarded to the offer? I do, but I have 3 really tight networks that do a lot of the rep training and placement. So if ever I need to go hire a setter, triage person, closer, etc., I have 3 extremely reliable sources that I go to and say, here's the offer, who do you got? And then we can onboard them, train them up, etc.
Understood. So I got some questions. I think Kevin does too, about everything that we just talked about. There's a lot of good stuff that we can dive into. Kevin, you got anything top of mind?
Well, I mean, top of mind is like, where's the suck? Like, where did it go wrong? Like,
yeah. So it got really sucky, really, really sucky. I guess let's go back to, like I was saying, $40,000 months were like a slow month for us, and like 60 to 80 is where we needed to be, or where we wanted to be. And all of a sudden, the walls almost came like caving in on the business all at once. And that's when I realized I wasn't really running a business. I was building a house of cards that looked really, really awesome for probably a good year or so. And I thought I was the shit. I thought I was the entrepreneurial like genius and all of this. And then when it all imploded into your face, you realize that you're not. And so what happened was the top 2 trainers that I had, they left to go do their own thing. And with that, almost half of the clients left. And so we went from $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 months to 12 to 15, like that. And now it's like, I'm back on the floor. I'm back doing marketing. It's basically starting over at this point.
And you hear this all the time with gyms though, right? Like that's exactly what happens every time.
Yep. And it's one of those, I tried to financially bribe them to stay, where it was like offering higher base salaries, higher commissions, and all of that. I thought I paid them fairly well. Did I severely overpay them? No, but they certainly weren't underpaid for what they were doing. It was very bonus and performance incentive where they could, potentially earn $60,000, $75,000 a year just being a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And helping out with some sales here or there. So like it was a decent deal. Was it the best? I'm not gonna say it was the best. But one took off to go do their own thing. And the other one ended up becoming the lead strength and conditioning coach for our region, and still is to this day. Like he is the go-to guy. And so like I tried throwing money at him because I knew what I had. I was like, hey, what if I offered you this? What if I matched what they're going to give you? He's like, it's not about the money right now. It's about doing what I want to do. And strength and conditioning with athletes, not working with Grandma Pam, is who I want to work with. Right. And so he followed his passion. He's absolutely dominating it now. The other trainer that left at that point went on to try to do their own thing. I think it was kind of like mediocre, went okay, like enough to keep going, but wasn't like exploding. And then come full circle, January of 2020, actually would have started in December, but January 2020, we actually closed on a deal where they took over my gym.
Wow.
And so I was able to build the gym back up to have some value, not what it was, some value. And then I was able to exit. And unfortunately, gyms don't have a huge multiple when you exit. I know some verticals, they'll offer 3, 4, 5, 6x, multiples. Gyms, you're like 1 to 2x. And so we were able to exit for right around there, and kind of wipe my hands clean of the gym world, or running a gym.
Yeah.
So it got shitty, had to get in, had to clean it up, had to rebuild it, then realized I didn't want to do that again. So pushed to exit out. And then, took over, or I should say got offered to come on board and work with Alex and his team at GymLaunch. And that's kind of where I decided to walk away from entrepreneurship because it started to really suck. To say, you know what, I'll take the comfortable position of a W-2 position. I'll get salaried. I'll get bonuses. I just had my first kid. So the 3 a.m. wake ups to go to the gym, the 1 to 2 hours in the afternoon, and then getting home at 7, 8 o'clock at night just wasn't really working for me at that point, at that stage of my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So took the safe position, work from home, W2 salary, bonuses, benefits, etc., and not knowing who I was working for at that time, right? Obviously I knew Alex was successful in his own right.
Yeah.
No idea that he was going to blow up to be who he is.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was that like? Because I mean, you and I have similar journeys, right? We did the entrepreneurial thing for years and we're successful at it. And then same type of thing, right? Like tried to salvage it. Mine was obviously, you remember, because my grandmother went into the hospital. And so, I ultimately, went back to sales, and that's kind of full circle how we met. And, we're both back on our entrepreneurial journey because you can't shake it. Right.
No, that's right. You can't.
So talk, I mean, I know that you already said like, I tried to work for somebody else, but that was when you were like 19, 20, 21. Like, I remember what it was like to go back after making $100,000 a month in my business to going to just showing up on a sales meeting every morning and just like, for lack of a better term, like eating shit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, shit eating has to be a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, whether you're transitioning through being an entrepreneur or even trying to build a new skill set or whatever it is, there's always going to be, and this is a Hormozi thing that, one of the first things that I remember learning from him, and he reiterates this to this day, is like, at first when you do it, you're going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to keep doing it, and you're going to suck a little bit less. And then you're going to suck a little bit less, and you're going to suck a little bit less, and you're going to keep sucking until you actually get good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about persistence.
Yeah.
Right. But I remember when he said that, I was like, yeah, everything that I've done, I've sucked at. And I sucked a little bit less, and I sucked a little bit less, and I sucked a little bit less, until eventually I ended up getting good at it. And my journey with Alex, like working for him, was really kind of no different. And so I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of what happened there. So when I got hired by Alex, it was more for business coaching. And so they went through this whole thing where Alex was doing the sales, doing the marketing, doing the fulfillment, right? Kind of like he teaches us in the gyms of like, raise yourself up, hire people underneath you, and continue to work on scaling. And so he hired a bunch of coaches to come in and help with the fulfillment side because GymLaunch was blowing up. And he didn't have the bandwidth to take on all of that. And so I got hired as one of the first business coaches that was June of 19. So I was still running the gym at that time, which also prompted me to want to get out of the gym and just focus on working for GymLaunch. By that fall, so it was like October, November of 19, ended up becoming basically lead of the coaching department. So I was running, like overseeing the other coaches, checking their reports, holding them accountable, all that fun stuff. Kind of almost like a manager without the manager title and without the pay raise that comes with a manager.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And so we got exited from the gym, and then March 2020 happened, which is when everything started shutting down. And so I'm still on the fulfillment side, running the coaching department, and all of a sudden I get asked, would you be interested in going over to sales? Because everything is shutting down. Alex goes, we have the solution to save your business through these shutdowns. We're going to show you how to transition online and still make money. We're going to run this hybrid model. We're going to run this 100% virtual model and make sure that your business stays strong. And so obviously inquiries flooded like crazy because people are now, we talk about, in sales, pain being like the big catalyst for someone to change, to create urgency, etc. There's nothing more painful than you're going to lose your business unless you do this. And so they were getting inundated, and I got asked to come over and do sales. And here I am thinking, cool, crushed it in the gym sales space, doing a good job with the coaching space. I know this product inside and out. I've been a part of this community for 2.5 years at this point. Like, this is going to be easy. When I tell you I got slapped across the face, I got absolutely crushed to the point where it was like 2.5, 3 weeks in, the sales and marketing director calls a one-on-one with me and says, I can't justify keeping you on the team.
Damn.
Like, I think I might have collected, if I remember at the time, we were selling, it was $5,000 up front and then reoccurring on the back, I think I might have collected like $7,500 in 3 weeks. Meanwhile, there's other guys doing $20, $30, $40, $50,000 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
And so,
like, what was that like? What did you learn from that? Like all that.
yeah, that's where everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
Is he was gracious enough, this director that I'm telling you about was gracious enough to say, I'll give you 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
basically to figure your shit out. And if you can't, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't keep you on the team. And it was at that point that I started taking sales training very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Because I loved sales. I loved being on the calls. I loved working with people.
Mm-hmm.
But I was an awesome presenter and solution provider, but I was a terrible closer. I couldn't get people to say yes. I couldn't get people to commit. I would basically give them solutions on the call, and they'd be like, "Oh, you did such a nice job. We'll talk to you later."
That's Jim Rohn's whole story, right? Like he was a great presenter. Everybody loved what he had to offer, but nobody was buying.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
That was exactly it. But I knew that I was missing because the other people on the team were absolutely crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, what's going on? So started working, reviewing Alex's stuff, working with Alex,
Mm-hmm.
Working with another manager at the time. And then also Alex ended up buying Jordan Belfort's straight line sales persuasion for the company.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that was my first introduction to like sales training. Now, Jordan will always have a special place in my heart because of that, right? Is it a be all end all solution? No. But did it give me some different insights? And I think yes, it did. But I think the best thing that it did for me was it provided structure and a path to follow in terms of learning to sell and then just evolving from there. And once I started studying that, I became an absolute like nerd on it. Like reading books left and right, going into more courses, investing my own money into learning how to sell and just become better, and strategic follow-ups and objection handles and all that fun stuff. At that point, it started to really take the turn where that summer I actually got promoted to run the sales department.
Let's go.
Wow, look at that.
But it wasn't until I got my
the phoenix rose from the ashes.
Yeah. So again, it kind of sucked. I had to embrace that suck.
Yeah.
And you have two choices when it starts to suck. You either quit and fold, or you figure it out and come out fighting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the sick thing about entrepreneurs, right? We don't have any quit in us. We don't know when to quit.
And if you
that's
do,
exactly it.
It's like a litmus test, and if you do, then you're not truly an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And
so
we see that all the time too.
So what was this time frame, right? So you like they gave you 2 weeks, and in those 2 weeks, you said you worked one-on-one with Alex, one-on-one with the director. You went through Jordan Belfort's training, and you were able to redeem yourself, obviously, within a short amount of time. And then, and hopefully you can throw in like a funny or cool Hormozi story in between here somewhere. But what was that like? Like, I want to know like deeper, like what that part was like, right? Like, like long hours, like what did you do, man? Like, it's not easy to be like, they already had an opinion of like, we're going to let this guy go. We're just going to give him a chance because we feel bad, right? Versus,
that's exactly it was sympathy. It was this guy's been a client of ours for 3 years.
Yep.
He's been in the program as a coach for the last 18 months. So we're going to give
us
him
more than he's made us so far.
We're going to give him the opportunity to gracefully exit is basically what it was. Right. Okay. So I got a couple stories to kind of share with you.
Cool.
One isn't like a funny Hormozi story, but it was like a heart-to-heart, like, oh shit type Hormozi story, right? And this led into the investment into Belfort's program.
Okay.
So we went through a period where the rest of the sales team, like I said, they were crushing it. And then we went to like this lull where we weren't. And this is also where things got a little bit tighter. And I got my 2 weeks, figure it out, rah speech. And so Alex calls a meeting with the sales team. And it was 3 or 4 of us at the time. And it was just us 4 and Alex. And I remember this being super early in the morning, and we're sitting there and he goes, my biggest question to you guys is, do you want to become world class? Because right now we're not world class.
Mm-hmm.
We have moments of showing that we can be, and then we have moments showing that we've never done this before. So do you want to become world class? And if you don't, if the idea of becoming world class and the commitment to becoming world class is too much for you, you can find a different position in the company, or you can just leave. And like, that was okay, you have my attention. And when I said I was able to work with Alex to kind of rebound and get myself out of it, it was that point where he made himself available and said to, had that, do you want to become world class? This is what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And so we laid out, and you guys remember like the daily sales training routine, the script read throughs, the and all of this extra work that was going in to help everybody pull out of this little slump that we were in. And so once that was established and that culture and that tone was set, that's when things started to change. Now we got partnered up with each other because there was even amounts. So it was a 2-2 split. And my partner and I would meet every morning, 5 a.m. And we'd spend an hour and a half every single morning. Script read-throughs, objection handles, top to bottom role plays. Like we were immersed in this idea of like becoming world class, yes, but we didn't want to let Alex down. And I think that says a lot about his like leadership of like, you didn't want to let the guy down.
Yeah.
Right. He's trusting you with everything. So we took it upon ourselves. It was 3:30 wake ups for me, not because the baby was crying, but because it was like, I gotta get this figured out.
Mm-hmm.
So like I had to find time for the gym. So 3:30 wake ups, we're going to the gym at 4, we're working out, we're coming home, and it's study. And then we had our meetings with our partners, and we would just drill. And then we'd go to our first meeting of the day as a team, and then calls would begin. And that's when everything started to really take a huge turn.
How long did you do that grind and that push for?
We would do the world-class sales training routine and meetups every day. So that was part of the culture until I left.
Okay. So it was like that was there.
Was it at that intense of a level the whole time? No. I mean, the role play calls ended up becoming at 8, not 5. Right? We still did them, but it wasn't like get out of bed at 3:30. It wasn't as that intense, but the consistency of which we did it was still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So PSA for anybody that's like watching Hormozi's reels, let me just show you the gap between what you think entrepreneurship is like if you're just on the outside looking in versus like what it really takes, right? And like also, thanks to Derek, and I guess indirectly thanks to Alex, Joshua and I don't think we'd be where we are right now if it weren't for the relationship that we had with you, which is obviously an indirect, a very much more direct impact that he actually had on you that I wasn't aware of. That's cool, man. Thank you for sharing that.
No, absolutely. And I love sharing that story because I just think it shows, sucking a little bit less until you get good. But it's not like you just get good because you say you're going to. You got to actually you got to get after it. You got to go do it. You asked for a funny story, and I said I had a serious Hormozi story, then kind of like a ha-ha story. And I just want to share it with you guys really quick because hopefully it resonates to some degree.
Let's hear it.
So told you going to the Belfort training, and we're going through the straight line. We're learning, I got all my scripts and all the different variations and just continually writing and massaging. And eventually I get this thing. I'm working on it all weekend and I'm like, okay, I think this is it. And I was and this is not advice for salespeople. I was so focused on my script. It was my sales Bible. Like I needed it in front of me and I needed to follow it. I think scripts are great training tools, but what I was doing with it, I don't recommend. But the story is, it was that Monday. I worked on it all weekend, just countless hours of just writing and reading it out loud, listening to voice recordings. No, that sounds dumb, and fixing it. and I get on my first call Monday morning to go sell. I got the Zoom screen on my left. I got the script on my right, and I'm literally reading this script verbatim just as I was practicing it all weekend. And I get to the very end, and Jordan Belfort style, I was like, sound fair enough? And the guy's like, yeah, okay, cool. Can I just pay with that with credit card? And I was like, holy shit, it worked. Oh my gosh. And like, that was the moment I was like, okay. And like, at that point, like my confidence level really kind of took off. And I was like, okay, I'm getting the grasp of this now. And then eventually we kind of got off the teat and stopped following the script and was able to kind of evolve from there. But it was that like aha moment of like, okay, we followed this process time and time again. And I think what really mattered was all the work that was put up to it that made it feel natural. Like I wasn't being robotic with the script, but I was leaning too heavy on it. But that, yeah, sure. No objections. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. I can pay with card, right? Was like, I almost fell out of my chair. Like this dude just said yes. Oh my gosh.
It worked.
And then from that point forward, everything turned out to be all right.
Yeah. On the midway through the 13th day, right? Of your 2 weeks.
No kidding. But I'll tell you, it doesn't sound like too much now, but capturing that $5,000 paid in full, I think saved my ass. That was the most valuable $5,000 that I've ever sold.
Yeah.
Just because it kept me in the game. It extended my stay just enough for me to continue to build.
It's awesome, man.
We had a moment like that recently. I mean, Kevin was on a call with our sales manager, Chris, and I was doing some other stuff, in the business, and then I just had a feeling that something happened, and so I went and checked the payments channel, and I saw the $5,000 payment come through, and I messaged Chris and I messaged Kevin. I'm like, "You saved the business, guys. Good job." Like, we're still playing. Thank God, we're still playing.
Because payroll was due like the next morning, and we're like, "Oh, dude, we way overextended ourselves with coaching this month, and we don't know if we can pay the team."
Yep. Oh, dude, I have been there. Going back to the gym days, I get a buddy, the strength coach I was telling you about. I was, even after he left, I was in his wedding party. He was texting me this morning, like we're still really tight, and things would get tight because I would overspend, I would over leverage, or I'd go buy this new rack because I thought it was awesome, but it had nothing to do with building the business. It's like, I have money, I need to spend it. And then payroll would be due, and I'd be like, I can't make payroll. And so all of a sudden I have these like spur of the moment paid in full specials. You pay for the year up front, you'll get 20% off. And so every time I would run not a pre-planned, but like a spur of the moment paid in full special, he'd walk in my office and be like, payroll's due. Like, I know it is. That's why I'm running it.
Yeah, we call it payroll special.
Yeah, he knew exactly why I was running it. He'll still text me today. He's like, thinking about running that paid in full special.
I know exactly what that means.
Yep.
It's awesome. Cool, man. So then you left that team, right? You left Hormozi's team. And so what was that like? Like, why? What was the reason? Like, what were you, because now you're back on your entrepreneurial journey, right? So like,
and fitting of the podcast title, it sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. So it was November. I remember the day, November 5th, 2021 was my last day at GymLaunch. Reason why I left, 2 reasons. One was Alex and Layla kind of started fading out of the business, and we had no idea why. Come to find out a couple months later, they announced they sold, and they had to get pulled out of the business a little bit, I guess, whatever. I don't know the finer details of it, but that was the direction it was heading. I didn't know it at the time. They just weren't readily available.
This is like right around the time of like transitioning into acquisitions.com, right?
That's exactly it. Yep. Exactly. And so I was like, okay, well, that was really one of the bigger reasons. I was thinking about leaving for a little while. I wasn't like overly thrilled, or staying in the gym space still wasn't like, I didn't wake up every day going, oh, hell yeah, I love what I get to do. It was like, I'm doing it because now I get to see the evolution of Alex. I'm learning from him. I'm still learning a lot about business. And he put it beautifully to me. We were on a one-on-one. He says, I'm not anticipating you retiring from GymLaunch. But what I am anticipating is that you are going to get a doctorate degree in business, and I'm going to pay you to get that doctorate degree. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool approach of like, you're going to learn so much about being here, marketing, sales, systems, etc. You're going to get paid handsomely to do it. And you're going to walk away far better off than most people do with a business degree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right?
And I
So
strategically positioned myself in those roles where we met for those exact purposes, right? Because I knew it was back to entrepreneurship. It was just a matter of
that's
when,
it.
right?
That's it. And so like, to me, proximity to big players makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Right. And so
If you can't pay for coaching, get paid to at least be in presence of the coach, right?
And you learn just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
And so that it was such a godsend. And I still reflect back on a daily basis, you know, thinking back to my days of being there, the people I got to work with, not just Alex and Layla, they're fantastic, but like just the culture that was there and the example that they set. And I know that they're still crushing it now, which is great to hear. But so I left because one of the coaches that I was working with started his own media company. It was supposed to be this be all end all, like one-stop shop where they would do the marketing, you'd shoot content, they would edit, they would make the reels, the TikToks, the podcast, the YouTube videos, YouTube shorts, all of that. They would do all of it. They would distribute it to all the platforms. It was supposed to be like this entrepreneurial's like dream of like, you pay me and we do everything. And so I got kind of set up this idea. Here's your proposal. You're going to be making a little bit less in the beginning just because we're a startup, but the upside looks like this. In X amount of time, we should be here. And then you should be really, really crushing it and taking off. And I was like, cool, I'm looking for a change. And they're like, come be the sales director. And you basically get to build your own department from the ground up. And I was like, this sounds awesome. This is entrepreneurial-esque, right? It's more like entrepreneur, I guess. I get to like run my own business inside of someone else's business. The amount of times that getting paid was delayed, I would bring in $7,000, $10,000, $15,000 in a week. And they're like, oh, we don't have money to pay you. And I'd be like,
where'd it go?
What? Yeah, exactly.
Did you eat it?
By January, the business folded. It folded on itself because overextension. I don't know. Were we crushing it in sales? No. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was bringing in $50K a month and it was all gone. It was a grind. It was a scrap because we're unproven. We had no money to put into any kind of marketing. Everything was outbound with no branding and no tie to a celebrity. You know, if it was Hormozi endorsed or Cardone endorsed or whatever, we would have had no problem just blowing up just with a good word from them. We had none of that. And so it was a grind. It sucked and made little to no money. And then the business fell apart on itself. And here I am with no job, now 2 kids, mortgage, and a wife who we agreed was not going to work until the kids went to school because I wanted her to be there for the kids. And she would only go back to work if she wanted to, not because she had to. But then here she is now having to go do Instacart to keep our lights on. Because I have no income. I have no savings. It's severely financially irresponsible. And I was selling off. I had my opinion, pretty awesome man cave at the time, in the house that I was living in, back in New York. I was selling off personal assets of game used memorabilia, autographed jerseys, footballs, baseballs, bats, all the stuff that I was collecting over the years, selling them. And it's not reoccurring. It's $400 right here. Okay, good. We can buy groceries. Like that's where we were at for probably 3-4 months. And I got my first couple of consulting clients that were ex-gym launchers that I reached out to that were on my roster. And they're like, oh yeah, we loved working with you. And they saved my ass. I got 2 people to sign up. And that kind of extended me and kept me going, kept me in the game like we were just talking about.
Wow.
So it was to the point where it got very, very scary. I had a truck that I absolutely loved and still regret selling to this day and had to sell it. Couldn't afford the payments.
Yeah.
And I bought it when I had the gym, and the gym paid for it because it was just generating tons of revenue. Everything was taken care of through there, and I couldn't pay for it myself.
Yeah.
So sold off tons of belongings and just got absolutely, I wouldn't say stuck, but put in a really hard place where my office at the house that I was at was in the basement. And geez, multiple times a week, I'd just be sitting there with my hands in my face crying like a baby because I felt so stressed, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
This was last January?
This was January of...
Not this past January, but the January before that.
2022, right?
January 2022
Yeah, that's when
all this happened.
Yeah, dude. It's tough as, you know, as a husband, as a father. It's the hardest with the promises that you knew wholeheartedly you were going to do everything in your power to deliver on.
That's it. I have two promises to my family. That is to provide and that is to protect. Those are the two things that I really pride myself on as a dad, as a husband. And I was failing miserably at both.
Yep. I've been in that dark hole too, man. I think, you know, we've talked about this before. And it's the kids, they don't know, right? But like, I'm so grateful and happy for you that we have the women in our lives that knew that this was a season.
Yeah.
And he is going to become even better than he was when we were at our best before.
That's exactly it. And the most reassuring thing that continually happened was I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm trying to figure out ways and I'm doing some side consulting stuff just to get some income in, but I don't know what I'm going to do. And to hear my wife continually say, I know you don't, but I believe in you. Like, I believe that you're going to figure this out. Something is going to happen. We're going to be fine. I'll continue to make the Instacart runs. You continue to do some side consulting. We will figure this out, but I believe something is going to happen and I believe you're going to be able to make it happen.
Yeah.
And to hear that, it was like, it made me want to start crying again, just of like relief.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, that was a very dark period. And by May of that year, May of 2022, ended up getting hired as a sales director for, I wouldn't even call them a competitor. I'm not going to badmouth them, but a competitor of GymLaunch. It was a gym agency. Very generous offer. And so I took it. I was like, oh, yeah, dude. They're like, we're going to base you at this. Here's your commission structure. And I was like, finally, like out of this hole. Here we go. Like, we're going to be in a good spot. All the meanwhile, we made the decision back in February, because it was my wife's birthday. We flew out to Dallas because I was still living in New York. We flew out to Dallas because I wanted to escape New York. Mind you, I didn't have any income. We paid for plane tickets that we couldn't afford and came down here, where I am now, and started looking at neighborhoods. We're like, we need to change our environment. We need to change our scene. We need to put ourselves and our kids in a better culture than, that are more aligned with our values. And so we started looking around and made the decision in March that we were going to be moving. Just like that. We don't have any family. We don't have any friends down here.
Yeah.
We're just going to pick up and go. So I get the sales director job in offered end of April, started beginning of May. And just this is a very interesting period of time because we have to sell our home. And another reason why we're selling our home is I was in just about $50,000 in debt. And I was making maybe like $6,000 a month. So my debt to income ratio wasn't most favorable.
No.
And so we had pretty good equity in our home. And we're like, well, with the move that we're going to make to Texas, we're just going to obviously sell the home and we're going to use that equity to pay down these debts and get debt free essentially. And so that's what we did. And we knew how much we needed for the home. we sold the house basically sight unseen with no realtor.
Hmm.
There was rumors swirling around that we were going to sell. Someone knew someone that was moving into the area. We got on a FaceTime on our phones, and I gave them a tour of the house through my phone. And he's like, "How much are you asking for it?" And I told him, and he's like, "Done."
What a blessing,
And
man.
I was like, "Okay." And we're like, "Okay." So my birthday's at the end of June, and we decided that we would stay in New York until my birthday, so I got to celebrate with my family. And then a day or two after my birthday, we'd leave, and we drove to Texas. And so he said to me on the phone, he goes, when do you need to be out? And we already set the preliminary date of June 27th, June 28th, kind of in that realm of when we were going to leave. And I said, well, really depends. We're not in any major rush. When are you going to be able to get here? He goes, we were hoping our move-in date would be the 28th of June. And I was like, shut up. And so I was like, okay. And like, to me, it was like the divine sign that this is what we're supposed to be doing. And so since then, we've moved down here, sold everything that we had up in New York, got completely debt free, have built up, everything financially. It's, and it's just in a lot different spot. Kind of continue the sales director story, and then I'll shut up.
Yeah.
Is
that's what you're for.
I was the sales director for this company, for this agency, from May, and then in February, right when I met you guys, the following year of 23, February 1st, I ended up getting fired from that sales director position.
Yeah.
Got fired because I basically had multiple disagreements with the people who were higher than me in the company that I was not aligned with, did not believe in what they wanted to do, the way that they said to do things, I was disagreeing with. And it was one of the points where like I kind of bit my tongue early. I kind of let it slide. And then it just got so frustrating that I couldn't just internalize it anymore. And I would just start saying, that's a bad idea. This is a terrible idea. This is what we need to do differently. And being able to kind of push back, right? And this is, at the time being told, stop worried about entrepreneurship, stop trying to be creative, just be a good cog in the wheel, like we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast. And eventually got to a breaking point where February 1st, I get on a call with my higher up, and they're like, yeah, it's not going to work out. It's not a good fit anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Because at this point, the company that you guys were working with at the time, I was a month in to working with you guys. I was juggling both jobs at that time. And I had a couple other people who were interested in similar services that were kind of lining up my pipeline on the back end while I still had this W-2 job. And so they were like, yeah, it's not a good fit. And I was like, that's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes
You're doing
God's
me a
like,
favor.
hey, you're not going to take the leap. I'm going to give you the push.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. And I remember coming out of my office and going, oh, I'm not with them anymore. My wife's like, what? And I was like, it's fine.
By the way,
it's fine because I got a pipeline full of people that
I'm just going to spend 4 hours a day on Zoom with Kevin.
That's it. That's it. We had some good conversations though. We had some really good conversations.
Yeah, bro. That was a good.
But like that's the whole story of how I got to where I am now. And now we're a year and a half in and running strong. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's just, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And as an entrepreneur, like there's times where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna slack, and then all of a sudden chaos breaks. So like it keeps you on your toes, and you got to keep pushing. But I wouldn't have it any other way because I can't respond to other people well. I don't play well with others that I feel are higher than me that shouldn't be in those positions. I don't do well with that.
Yeah. That was my push.
Yeah.
Right? When these guys were like, okay, sales isn't going that well. Maybe we should lean on marketing. Kevin, would you like to help with the marketing team? And I'm like, a couple weeks into being in the marketing meetings, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not a huge fan of this person or anything they do.
Yeah.
So, and that was my push, right? Like, and dude, you were the launch pad because I definitely needed that time that we spent together. Like now, I mean, for besides the past couple weeks, things got kind of weird, but I think it was just an eclipse thing. But we're closing at like, I don't know, 75, 80% most of the time now. And the time that I spent, on the previous sales team, and, went through Jeremy Miner's program and all that, and then leading into the time that I spent with you, like Joshua and I, where we are now is definitely a lot of that is attributed to my time with you. So one of the major reasons why we love and appreciate you, and you'll always be welcome, here with us. So then, all right, what's the future look like? Like where now, like you've been doing your thing and things are going great. And, so from having a couple consulting clients, like how did things start to take off for you?
Yeah. So this is also, I think, a good lesson that I started to learn. And it's funny because I think a lot of the things that I'm doing now were learned along the way, whether it was good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it wasn't like I just woke up one day or read a business book and I was like, I'm a business person. It's like you just learn as you go, and you fall down, you get kicked while you're down, you get back up, you get pushed back down, you get kicked again, and we just continue to learn, right? And what I'm doing now has a lot to do with that previous job I just told you I got fired from.
Mm-hmm.
They were launching, and I think it's doing quite well, a ridiculous offer that had to do with being aligned strategically, like strategic partners.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that kind of taught me in that moment was like, I was trying to sell one gym at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a struggle, especially knowing the life of gym owners and like the non-budgets that they have,
Mm-hmm.
like non-existent monetary budgets that they have. And all of a sudden I cracked the nut on one specific source that opened me up to 200 gym owners
Mm-hmm.
and became one of their preferred people. And it was like, oh yeah, I want it. And I was just sales, sign up, left and right. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's something to do with this strategic partner. When you have someone in a place of authority and you can come in and basically get the blessing of someone from that place of authority, whether they're the head coach of the program or the CEO of the company or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I trust Derek with X. If you need X, you need to talk to him.
That's crazy.
It's much easier.
Talk about this, but this is the exact strategic partnership that has gotten us to where we are in business we're just starting to run ads like next week. And we've been at this already for 6 months.
Yep. And
I got
that's
5
exactly
sales
it.
calls after this podcast today.
I love it. Go knock them down.
Yep.
Go knock them down. But that's how what I'm doing now has grown. I've never ran an ad. I just hired my first VA to do like content editing and posting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. And so what I've done, instead of trying to go find that one business that needs sales management assistance
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is, or consulting or sales training or what have you, I'm partnering with people who are already serving those businesses, more than not agencies,
Mm-hmm.
right? That are serving those type of people that I know that I can help with. Can I help a car dealership sell more cars? No, that's not what I do. So I know who I work with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm partnering with these sales agencies that work with my ideal clients.
Mm-hmm.
They make introductions. And if you guys remember, the way I started working with you previously was running through the sales audit.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Yep.
So what I do is I go into these processes and systems as an undercover shopper, if you will, as a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And then I document everything from the very top of the funnel all the way to the sales follow-up, including the nurture, the calls, etc. I go through the whole process as a prospect and say, here's where we're strong, here's where we need help, and here's how we fix it. And so I like to bring value to the agencies that I'm working with and say, cool, I'll do this for you for free. Because I think one of the struggles that the agencies deal with is that they can generate a ton of leads, but their retention is so poor
Mm-hmm.
because the people that they're generating leads for can't close.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say, cool, you're great at generating leads and marketing. I can come in and help your clients enhance their sales systems for free so that you can drive leads to them and they can make more sales. And lo and behold, when you put that much work on the front end, most people then ask you, well, how much is it for you just to come do it yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How much can we pay you to come fix our problem? And then that's how I'm basically signing clients and get people to sign up and work with me.
That's awesome. How are we on time, man?
We got 10 minutes left. 8 minutes.
Okay. Awesome. That worked out very well.
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon then, Derek? Like what's the next what's the next year, 3 to 5 years look like? What is
That's a great question. I have a ginormous whiteboard right over my shoulder that has like 4 different ideas on it that can stem off of what I'm doing now.
Are you at a place of like itching, like this is where I want to go, or you're still kind of like in that mode of like this is going so well, like, and you're still kind of focused on the now?
I had this revelation a couple of weeks ago that going back to my gym story, I'm in my personal training phase right now. And that is, I do all the acquisition, I do the fulfillment, I'm in the trenches every single day, building, learning. And eventually I want to take that step out where I don't have to be on the gym floor anymore, right? And see what that would look like. So there's a couple different avenues that I could go down. Just kind of off the top of my head of like what's over here on the whiteboard. One is, is it feasible to do an agency model in the sense of like fractional sales management, where I am running a team of managers and they have their own rosters of 4 to 6 businesses. Is that a feasible model? Like it makes sense hearing it out loud, but like logistically speaking, can I run and scale that business? I don't. I'm still working out like the numbers of what that would look like. The other side of it is, well, can I teach other people how to build their own business and make it basically be more of like a licensing type program where sales reps who want to become a manager but don't have a clear path to becoming a manager, or sales managers who are tired of being at one spot and dealing with just one offer, can grow their own business. That's what I love about what I do. Is I told you about the corporation and financing offer that I'm working on. I got another one that is sales training and placement, and I got another one that is doing basically funnels, marketing agencies, that sort of deal that I'm, and a couple others that I'm working with. So I get to dabble in all these different areas and all these different offers. So it never really gets stale, right? So can I teach someone to do that? Or do I partner with 1 or 2 agencies and build basically an entire done for you acquisition model where I have someone who's my partner that does all the ads, and then we build the sales team and we sell for you, and we just get paid on those commissions that we sell, and all you have to do is fulfill. So like those are the kind of the ideas that we're playing with right now, but I don't have a whole lot of clarity in terms of which one I want to really get after.
That makes a lot of sense, man. We were right there with our business. We accidentally validated like 4 offers at once, and we're like, we can make money with all of these. And we're like, which one's the easiest, the lowest cost of acquisition with the highest LTV? So
that's exactly it.
And that's the formula, right? So which one's going to be the most valuable for me to get at the least cost, easiest to scale on, and going to be the most valuable long term? And you don't really know until you start going down those paths and getting data on it. And it's hard to look into the future without the data.
Yeah. And just on that note, that's what was the big shift of me going off of consulting. Like when we met, it was just consulting. It was 60 days. And then it was like out. Right. And that seems to be the shelf life of like consulting, at least for me. Maybe I was doing something wrong. I'm sure there's consultants out there that are listening to this or whatever that have clients for 5 years. But like my shelf life, my lifetime value as a consultant was poor. Like it was 3 or 4 months at the most, and then I had to go find a new client. So it was nice because I'd get paid usually up front for those 3 or 4 months. But then like after that, it was like, oh shit, I gotta go to another client.
Yeah, you're still feeding for famine, and it's
That's
And a lot of what you're
that's
talking about, that shelf life, is because of, there's a lot of people that have a skill set that can get you so far, but there's not a lot of hey, this is going to work for me for the next year, 2, 3 to 5 years. This is just the one thing that I need help with right now, and once I get that dialed in, I think we're okay. Versus like I have a feeling a lot of people, and it sounds like you're the same as us, are stepping away from what we've been taught over the past few years in the through marketing, like the subconscious teachings that we've been learning, and stepping into more long-term sustainable business models, right?
that's the name of the game. And that's why like that transition from consulting to the fractional sales management side of things makes sense.
Well, you
because
remember back a year or so ago, I was talking about the MRR on the sales team that we were on. If you look at their business model now, what are they doing?
Or lack thereof. Yeah.
So I like being tied. And I guess another thing, just to kind of like compare apples to apples here, I think the lifetime value in terms of what I'm doing of the management side is far superior. I mean, I started it a year ago. I'm approaching my first, client's 1-year anniversary. We're still rocking.
Awesome.
Acquired a few more along the way. We're still rocking. Like 6-8 months, we're still going and getting paid every single month. Like it's so much better because you take part in the upside of the sales team. So as they grow, you also make more money. It's a really good relationship to have. But also, I found in the consulting world, they would say, I have this problem. I want you to fix it. How can we fix it? And I'll go, here's your solution. Here's how you fix it. Well, I don't really know if that's going to be like the best way to do it, because it's like, well, what you're doing now is broken. So what ground do you have to stand on to tell me that this isn't going to work?
Exactly. I love it.
Right. And so like, it would freaking infuriate me that people would pay for, expertise in consulting, and I'd slap them in the face with the solution, and they'd be like, well, that seems a little advanced for what we're doing right now. Or it's like, it's not advanced. It's just a little bit different. And if you want your team to get better, you got to push them to get better. Otherwise, you're going to continue to run the same race that you're doing now and get the same results and then wonder what's going on.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
When I take over the team, the deal is I have basically like full autonomy. This is my team now. This is my department. We're going to run it as I see fit. And if something doesn't work, I'll take blame for the failure of it, but I'll fix it. We'll keep moving forward. But I'm not going to be beholden to someone going, yeah, well, that's new. We don't want to introduce new things to the team yet. It's like, what do you mean? You're losing money every month. You got to fix something.
Sure.
So that's the big difference. And I think that's also why lifetime value is higher too, is because when I have autonomy over it, it makes it easier to implement those things and actually see the growth.
Yeah, full autonomy over the sales team, and then influence over the marketing at some level, I would assume, because of the results that you're able to produce for them on the sales side.
Yeah, so it's more of just a tighter feedback loop with marketing in terms of what we're seeing on the calls, what language we're using that's working well, that is speaking, to the not only the people that close, but those that come to the program and crush it, right? So if we're selling a coaching program or whatever it is, it's like, if we're constantly saying this and it's clicking with people and they're coming in and being the best students, well, we should market more to those type of people.
Absolutely.
And so it's just a tighter feedback loop as opposed to me actually having
from cold to like client success ascension, but potentially is the real KPIs that you're checking out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, you sound like you have figured out who you want to work with by having a few of these clients, that like pissed you off. We've gotten on tons of sales calls and it just been like, why did we even get on this call? Like, it clearly just a mismatch. And then we're getting really clear. Like, if you don't match this avatar, we don't even need to discuss what the offer is, because I don't want to work with you. And, and getting super crystal clear, being able to spot those people from a mile away. I'm like, don't even book on my calendar. So,
and I won't
Josh,
take your money.
Well, you bring up a good point, and that's something that I've been really focusing on a lot, is like dialing in who that business is, because obviously I'm a B2B service, right?
Mm-hmm. As are
And
we.
what I've noticed is like the sweet spot, $500,000 to about $2 million a year in revenue is where I can fall in really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
For the reason of anyone that's before 500K a year, the owners and like the executives or whatever, they're so involved. They have to be so involved to grow the business.
Mm-hmm.
And plus it's not really worth my time in terms of like the return that I would get off of that. But then up until 2 million, between 500,000 to 2 million, they know that they need to remove themselves, but they don't have the capital to go get someone who is seasoned enough or talented enough to really explode the business.
Right.
And so they either go hire someone that has no experience and they get no results or actually lose money. They can't afford the payroll, like I was saying, of someone who's like top tier, or they have to continue to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I come and say, cool, I can bring you the level of experience to run the department, fix some things, enhance some things that need to be done to increase your sales. And it's a fraction of what you'd pay someone on a full-time payroll, plus majority, if not all of my compensation is directly tied to the success of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it kind of a no-brainer for them to do it so they can get out of being in the trenches and work on the business.
Well, Derek, I have a few end kind of sequence closing questions for you.
Cool.
Not like closing, like I'm going to close you on something like on a sales call, but like
Even
closing
if you
it.
wanted to, that'd be fine.
So do you see any reason why? No. And by the way, I think this has been one of my personal favorite conversations that we've had so far, because we got to talk so much about your story, and a lot of people, aren't so clear on their whole story. And so I really appreciated getting to hear everything from start to finish, and we pulled out a lot of golden nuggets out of that as well. So first of all, thank you for giving us such an elaborate breakdown of, where you came from, what happened along the way, and where you are now, and what you're looking forward to in the future. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity. It was enjoyable to share the story. So I appreciate it.
Glad.
So, as we kind of bring this interview to a close, kind of a left field question for you. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What do you believe? Because I know you're a believer, as me and Kevin are. What do you believe your purpose here on earth is?
Wow. That's a good question. And I don't know if I know what that purpose is yet, but I can tell you what I'm drawn to is coaching, helping, like the fulfillment that I get, not monetarily, not selfishly, but seeing other people be successful, succeed, etc. It's been that way since I can remember, and it's still like the biggest burning desire is being able to help people accomplish whatever they want, like athletically, business wise, whatever it is. That stuff gets me fired up. So I don't know if we call it my purpose. I don't know if I've fully identified what that is yet, but like personal fulfillment wise, that's what I feel like I've been kind of called to do, at least for this stage of my life.
That's a good answer, man. We got a couple rapid fire questions for you now. So don't think about these too hard. But
Okay.
So if you could have dinner with any 3 people who are alive today, so not in the past, but they're alive today, 3 people, who would it be and why?
Oh, okay. Interesting. I would, and I get to have, dinner with him a lot, but I'd bring my dad to be a part of this. I would probably go, I think Elon Musk would be a really good person to have at dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably get some hate for what I'm about to say. I'd want Trump there as well.
I was about to say, I know it's gonna be Trump. I would love to have him at dinner as well.
And so the reason being is I think that those 2 guys are crazy good marketers, branders, go-getters, obviously extremely wealthy. And so what they've been able to accomplish, and obviously, Trump brings a different level to the dinner table as well. I just think it'd be an incredibly interesting conversation. And I also think it'd be an interesting conversation to have Elon and Trump at the same table.
Oh, that would be fire to hear. Good answers.
Awesome.
All right. And is there any event, past, present, or future, that you wish you could have witnessed? You said you're into history. You were almost a history teacher.
Yeah. Geez. Man, I can go back to the beginning of time. I think witnessing just a day or an hour of Jesus would be incredible. That would be, I can't pinpoint an exact moment of when, but just to be able to be in his physical presence, and see what he was able to do, and be able to see the impact that he had and witness it. You know, I know what he's done for my life, but be able to see it firsthand would be, you know, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's a good answer, man.
Hey, blessed are those who believe and do not see.
Yeah,
man, that's
true.
I agree. All right, we got one more rapid. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, say if I had to choose, I'd get in the DeLorean and I'd go see Jesus.
Ask Jesus to hop in the DeLorean with you.
Yeah.
So we got one more rapid fire and then a final closing question. So the next one is, what's something that's mundane, like a boring task, that brings you an unusual amount of joy?
Actually doing it now. I'm revamping my website.
Okay.
And rebuilding it. I think it's so mundane. I get so frustrated doing it, but like I look forward to doing it.
All right. Beautiful. One thing for me is like grooming my dog. Like she brings me a lot of joy, right? So making her all clean, it's like having a clean child or whatever. You can snuggle up on them and not be like, oh, you stink.
Well, it's not organized in Google Docs.
Oh, that too. Organizing our Notion workspace. Yes. Yeah.
I'll wake up in the morning and our entire SOP system is like completely revamped. I'm like, what did you do? I got to call him in the morning. I'm like, dude, we have a meeting. He's like, oh, all right. I was up until like 4. Google Docs.
Google Docs. There's the answer.
Yep,
there's your answer. That's awesome.
That is my answer.
Oh man,
my dog comes second to the Google Docs, man. That make sure those SOPs are clear.
That's funny.
So, final question: on your last breath, if you were granted the ability to send a message to the entire world, what would you say in 30 seconds?
Deep. That's not what I would say. That would sound weird. Geez, man. I would say there is no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason, and you need to follow the doors that are being open, and don't get caught up in the ones that are being closed. That was a big message that I heard a couple years ago, and that's lived by that.
That's a good message.
Especially not getting caught up in the ones that are getting closed. That's the hard part that we struggle with. I think all of us as people, right?
Yeah. I know we got to get going here, but the first time I heard that message, I prayed for that. I was like, I'm not asking you to fix my problems. I'm just asking you to help me close the doors that are supposed to be closed. Within 24 hours, a business partner that I thought was going to be a business partner completely cut me out.
Wow.
Left.
How about that?
Like the very next day that happened, and I was like, okay, I feel kind of free now. And I was like, okay,
you prayed for that.
I kind of get it. Okay, thank you. Right. And like from that point forward, that's been like my mantra. That's been the thing that's just like, close the doors that are supposed to be closed and crack the ones that are supposed to be open. I'll go through them.
Well, How about that for a podcast interview?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
I know we don't have a lot of time, Derek. Let's let's hop on and catch up.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on again at some point to dive deeper into some sales and entrepreneurship stuff.
I would love it, guys. Always
Cool.
like talking with you guys, and it was good to catch back up again. It's been a little while.
Likewise, man.
Absolutely.
All the best, man. Great to have you here. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks, fellas. Talk to you soon.
See everybody.